In this task, we will continue to delve into the chaining of prompts thanks to the chain module of the LangChain tool. Chains are a feature of LangChain that allow us to combine multiple components to create a unique and coherent application. Although there are various ways we can combine different components, the most common use case involves combining the output of one prompt, or an instruction in ChatGPT, with the input of another, so that ChatGPT uses the output to return another prompt to us. This is akin to allowing ChatGPT to perform tasks sequentially and learn from the results of each task. We can accomplish all of this thanks to the chain module of LangChain. In the next task, we will develop this use case by combining a total of 3 prompts or instructions in ChatGPT. We will send an instruction to ChatGPT, ChatGPT will provide a result, and this result from the first command will be combined with the result of the second command, and so on. In this case, we are going to use the LangChain model. The first thing we need is a code execution environment. In this case, we will use Python, although other programming languages could also be used. To simplify things, we are going to use the WelcaLab environment. To access WelcaLab, you simply need a Gmail account. After searching for WelcaLab in the Google search bar, the environment will appear. The great thing about WelcaLab is that it already has Python installed, so there's no need to worry about installing anything on our local environment. The main page provides access to the file section, where we can upload a notebook. This notebook is essentially a repository that contains the code we want to run. The next step is to drag the chain and prompt notebook with chain and LangChain to the file selection area, after which the notebook will automatically open. The first step to executing any function is installing the libraries for that function. In this case, we are going to use LangChain as expected, and also the YamaIndex library, which will allow us to work with indices. Once we have installed them with the pip install command with an exclamation mark, they will be installed in the WelcaLab environment and this tick will appear, which indicates that they have been correctly installed. To execute the code, we can click on Execute Cell. Alternatively, to execute all cells, we can go to the runtime environment and click Execute All. Both options are valid. For example, if we want to execute this cell, we would execute it. The next step is to import a series of functions that we will need. We are going to import a large language model from OpenAI specifically for ChatGPT. Additionally, we are going to import some extra functions from the chain module, such as LangChain and simple sequential chain. We will also use the prompt template to generate a query template. As we need more functions, we can use the import command followed by the function name to import them. A fundamental requirement for LangChain, as we had mentioned, is that proprietary models require access to their APIs. These are paid APIs. In this case, we are going to use the OpenAI model, so we have to go to the OpenAI environment and get the keys. To do so, just access this URL. You do need to enter a payment method. And once we have entered a payment method, to create a new secret, just add a name. We click on Create Secret Key and copy it. And that's it. It would appear here. To delete it, just come here and delete it. Now that we have the code, we are going to replace it and execute this cell. With this, we would be giving WelcaLab access to this proprietary model of OpenAI. The next thing we are going to do is generate a simple prompt about a somewhat complex question. Specifically, we want to ask ChatGPT what type of mammal lays the largest eggs. Creating a simple prompt from Python code is very straightforward. We need to use the function we have already seen, prompt template. This function takes 2 arguments, input variables, which are variables that change depending on user needs, and the template, which is the basic question template. The template is simply an empty frame that holds the question variable. So, depending on the question we want to ask, we will ask one question or another. In input variables, we provide the single input variable, which is the question, and in the template, we provide the basic question template. To use this, once we have defined the prompt template, we can use the .format command to generate the question. We pass it the input variable, which is the question we had defined, and tell it that the question is equal to what type of mammal lays the largest eggs. This is the question that would be sent to ChatGPT. If instead of this question we were interested in asking, "What is the weather like now?" we wouldn't need to modify anything except the question. We could use this template for as many use cases as we want. This question is what is sent to ChatGPT, and now we will ask the question. To do this, we will define the model we are going to use. As we had mentioned, we are going to use the OpenAI model. We can also set its configuration. This would be the default setting, but it modifies how the OpenAI model behaves slightly. Once we have defined the model, which we have named LLM, we use the LangChain function to call this model and send the prompt template we had defined earlier. Now we simply use the chain.run command, which is the chain we have generated in a single step. We call that chain with the run command and pass it the input argument that was the variable question we had put here, which in this case is what type of mammal lays the largest eggs. Then it will execute, send the query to ChatGPT, and we will receive the answer. And what does ChatGPT answer us? That there are no mammals that lay eggs, only reptiles, amphibians, and birds lay eggs. As we know, this statement is not correct since there is a type of mammal, the platypus, that does lay eggs, so this statement is not correct. This would be a case in which by asking a complex question in a single attempt the result we get is incorrect. In the next task, we are going to try to get better results by concatenating different subtasks, in this case different questions, and teaching ChatGPT with this to give us a final answer to the same question.